Baiting is one of the most prominent parts of Pokemon, and a Nuzlocke is supposed to make you feel emotionally attached to your Pokemon and feel sad when they die. However, you can almost always just catch another Pokemon. But today I will be trying to beat Pokemon without ever having one of my Pokemon faint. Here are the basic rules. If one of my Pokemon faints, I have to reset to the last save point. I'm allowed to save after each gym and each rival battle, and I cannot use any healing items in battle to make it a little bit harder. This is surprisingly difficult, so you do enjoy, make sure to subscribe. Enjoy. So to start this challenge off, I named myself Medkay, as per usual, and we start up the game by entering Professor Elm's lab. This quickly turns into the obtaining of our starter, of which I choose Cyndaquil. Then we go and nickname it, and this time I got really creative with the name, and named it No Faint, the whole goal of the challenge. However, one thing I would like to clarify is as to why I chose Cyndaquil, and the answer is simple. Because the first gym leader is a flying type, all starters are neutral against it, and the second gym is bug, and Cyndaquil's fire typing will toast all bug types in our way. And I believe that the first two gyms are the hardest because they are the ones that you are generally least prepared for. But anyway, we then make our way through the absolute hoot-hoot infestation that is Route 1, and then finally make our way out with a level 8 Cyndaquil and a lot of fallen hoot-hoots. Next was Cherry Grove City, where we get the running shoes from the old man, and then get a call from the professor that there is a disaster at the lab, so we make our way back straight into a rival battle, of which I was entirely too overprepared for. We beat him with ease and reach our first save point. We then make our way back to the lab where we get to name our rival. We name him Bad K so he'll be eternally worse than us, and make our way to the next route and grind for level 14 on our Cyndaquil when he evolves, in preparation for the first gym. We make it through and to Violet City, home of the first gym. We heal up our team, and after defeating all of Sprout Tower, we can finally challenge the gym. We enter and make our way to Faulkner immediately, who sends out his Pidgey, who we OHKO with Ember. Next up is his Pidgeotto, who is a bit harder, but takes only 2 hits to KO, leading us to the first badge, and yet another save point. We then exit the gym and enter the Pokemart to get the egg from Elm's lab assistant. We then make our way down, and while passing through a patch of grass, I encountered a wild Wooper, and because we needed a water type, and its extra ground typing is pretty solid, I decided to try and catch it, which I succeeded in doing on the first ball. I then decided to nickname it, and chose the name Alex because Wooper is actually based on an axolotl. We then make our way up to the next town where Team Rocket has invaded the Slowpoke's well, and of course it's our job to stop them. And it was all going completely smoothly until this lady and her Ekans knowing rap. Get me out of here. Good. And so that was the first death of the challenge. We then redid everything prior, including catching another Wooper, this time naming it Axel, because clearly Alex didn't work out. We then made our way back and completely cleared out the Slowpoke's well without any issues this time. We then made our way back out into the second gym, the Bug Gym. We cleared all the trainers and made it straight to Bugsy. First up was Scyther, who was a matter of 2 Flame Wheels to take out. Next up was Metapod, who took just 1 Flame Wheel to KO. And lastly was Kakuna, who, like Metapod, was only a matter of 1 Flame Wheel to KO, defeating Bugsy and getting the second badge. I then left the gym and walked straight into a rival battle with Bad K. He first sent out his Ghastly, who was an easy OHKO with Quilava. Next was his Croconaw, and thanks to Burn, we KO with few struggles. And lastly is Zubat, who we take out with a crit Flame Wheel, allowing us to save. Next up is Ilex Forest, and about 3 steps in, our egg hatches into a wonderful Togepi, of which I will never use. We then move on, and while walking I encounter an Oddish, who we catch and name Strangers. We make our way out of the forest into the next route, one of the most important ones in the game because it has the Pokemon Daycare on it, of which I will explain more of later. Next up is Goldenrod City, home of the third gym, and after fetching Whitney and doing this stupid quiz in order to challenge the gym, thanks to my Pokemon Brilliance, we finally complete it and make it to the gym to battle her. Her first Pokemon is Hercle Fairy, who we easily KO with just 2 Flame Wheels. Lastly is her Miltank, who after some milk drink shenanigans we KO with a crit Flame Wheel, defeating Whitney. And because Whitney is the worst gym leader, a sore loser, and an absolute child, I have to beg her for the badge, practically ripping it from her hands, and finally we get to save. Next up we begin making our way out of Goldenrod when the gatekeeper asks us to bring his Spearow named Kenya to his friend. Of course I took it and never returned it. We then got the squirt bottle and used it to get by the Sudowoodo and make our way straight to Violet City. Then because Kenya only needed 1 level to evolve, I battled some trainers until it evolved into a big and beautiful Fearow. Then in preparation for the next gym, I wanted to have Quilava evolve too, so I took my Pokemon to the daycare and began biking up and down. Now, if you don't know, in these games, Pokemon in the daycare will gain 1 experience point for each step you take in the overworld. So this makes it really easy to grind your Pokemon in this challenge. Then, after a while of grinding, our team was looking much better, with Wooper and Quilava only 1 level away from evolving each. Then I made my way into Burn Tower for, what do you know, another rival battle. First was Bad K's Ghastly, who we OHKO with Lava Plume. Croconaw took 2, but overall was very easy. And his Zubat and Magnemite, like his Ghastly, were a breeze, allowing us to put that grinding behind us with a save. After clearing out the rest of that tower, we make it to the gym. And while battling one of the trainers, No Feint finally evolved into a Typhlosion. Next up was Morty. His first Pokemon, his Ghastly, was a breeze, as was his Gengar, and his Haunter, and the second one, leading us to our 4th badge. Next up is Route 38, where we encounter a Magnemite who I decided to catch, and because I caught it with a fastball, I named it Fast. Next up was Olivine, and after making it all the way to the top of the lighthouse, Jasmine needs our help to get medicine for an Ampharos. And so we make our way across the entirety of the ocean to Cianwood City, home of the 5th gym. So we put the Ampharos task aside and went to challenge the gym. And after clearing out all the trainers, it was time for Chuck. His Primate was a breeze, but things went a little different for his ace Poliwrath. With our Lava Plume doing only a quarter of its health and its Surf doing a third of ours, we were in trouble, so we switched out. But its Focus Punch was even stronger, and so we were left with no other option than to hope Kenya survived, and she didn't. And so I caught a Magnemite, this time naming it Faster, in hopes it would be better than the original Fast. We then made our way all the way back to Cianwood to challenge Chuck yet again. The Primate again was a breeze, but next was the dreaded Poliwrath. But this time I led with Axel and used Yawn to put it to sleep, allowing us to come in and sweep with No Feint, leading us to the 5th badge. We then made our way out of the gym when the lady outside gave us the HM for Fly. We then immediately taught it to Kenya and flew back to Olivine. We then made our way back to the top of the lighthouse to bring the medicine to Jasmine. This allowed us access to her gym, which should be one of the easiest ones we face because we have No Feint, who is a fire type and will crush any steel types. And so we make our way to Jasmine. First up is her Magnemite, who we OHKO with a Lava Plume. Next up is her Ace Steelix, who is just as easy as the Magnemite. And lastly is her second Magnemite, who is just as easy as the first, earning us the 6th and easiest badge. Next I make my way south of Cianwood to the Cliff Edge Gate, and then to Route 47. I then made it north to the Safari Zone Gate, and immediately left back to Agritique, and make my way east to Route 42, where we find Suicune, and continue on to Mahogany Town. I then continued north to the Lake of Rage, where... Oh, it's not the Shining Gyarados? I was so confused. I was like, yo, when did he get smaller? Dude. Oh my god. I was like, what? Excuse me. Sorry, I just thought that'd be pretty funny to include. But in reality, I encountered the Gyarados and just KO it, because we already have Axel, so another water type wouldn't make much sense. Next, I made my way into the central house where Lance shows us the entrance to Team Rocket's hideout, and we make our way in, and to a battle with an executive. However, with the help of the literal champion, it was hard to lose, and after slaughtering some electrodes, we were done with Lance, and it was time for the gym. So I made my way in, and with the help of No Feint, I expected this to go about as well as the Steel Gym. And after battling some of the very easy trainers, it was time for Price. His Seal took just 2 flamethrowers, and his Piloswine but 1. But finally was his Dugong, who took just barely a 2-shot with flamethrower, allowing for 2 easy badges in a row. I then go down to the Goldenrod Underground where Team Rocket is waiting for me. But first is another rival battle. Bad K first sends out his Golbat, and with quite the level gap here, it was pretty easy. For Alligator was next, and even being a water type, we took it out with Flamethrower. Haunter was very easy as well, leaving us with just his Magnemite and Sneasel, who were comically easy. I then made it through the rest of the hideout and made it to the man who gives us the card key. Then, using that card key, I made my way up to the radio tower, and to Archer, who challenges us to a battle. His Houndour is first, who barely lives our Flamethrower on what has to have been HP. We then swiftly KO it. Get it? Because I use Swift. His next Pokemon is his Houndoom, who took only a couple of surfs from Axel to KO. And lastly is his Coughing, who is an OHKO with Flamethrower. He then gives us the Rainbow Wing, and I then make my way east to the Ice Path, one of the most annoying caves in all of Pokemon. And after finally completing the stupid puzzle where you push the little boulders in the stupid hole, stupid and dumb, we finally can get out to Blackthorn City. Now, Blackthorn had the gym that I was most scared of going into this challenge, being the Dragon-type gym, because obviously I had to do some grinding regardless of the gym's typing, but let's just look at some of the Pokemon that Claire has. She first has her Gyarados, who I plan to grind up faster to evolve into Magneton and take out. Next was her two Dragonaires, who I planned to catch a Swinub and evolve it all the way to Mamoswine to take care of the Dragonaires. And lastly was her hardest Pokemon, her Kingdra, who I figured between Mamoswine and Magneton and maybe even Earthquakes from Axel, one of them could take it out. And so now that I had this very structured and not janky at all plan that requires an incredibly large amount of effort just for one minuscule thing to go wrong and for all of it to go down the drain, I had to put it into action. So first I went and encountered my Swinub, and very soon after I caught it. I named it Bunsu, which is just Swinub spelled backwards, but more fun to say. I then went on the grueling hunt for a heart scale, which is needed to evolve Swinub because it only evolves Mamoswine when it knows Ancient Power, a move that it needs to be retaught by the move relearner, of which I need a heart scale for. Then I tossed Bunsu and Kenya into the daycare and began biking, and after entirely too much time, Bunsu was level 34 and evolves into Piloswine at level 33, so I took them out. But because Pokemon won't evolve in the daycare, I have to get it one level to evolve into Piloswine, and then teach it Ancient Power to get another level to evolve into Mamoswine. So I went to a grass patch on Route 45 to get one level when something truly tragic happened. Oh my god. And so I caught a Swinub, this time naming it just truly Swinub backwards, and then continued on to get my heart scale back. I then put Bunsu and Kenya back into the daycare and grinded it to the same point we were before the incident, getting Bunsu to level 34 and Kenya 36. Then, after some switch training against the Gravelers, of which I was terrified of now, when finally Bunsu evolved into a beautiful Piloswine. I then went to the move relearner to teach Piloswine Ancient Power so it could evolve into a Mamoswine. I then just used a rare candy that I had picked up throughout the playthrough to evolve Piloswine into a Mamoswine, at which point it was time for even more grinding to level up mainly faster and are now Mamoswine to equal it out to the rest of the team. And after all of that grinding later, and trying the gym a couple times, and failing even the trainers, and redoing all of the freaking grinding, and it was horrible, and it was awful, and I hated every minute of it, but finally, I decided to get faster to level 42 and Bunsu to level 50. When I decided to go back in, and after beating all of the gym trainers, I decided that it was finally time to put my plan into full throttle and go for Claire. Her first Pokemon was her Gyarados, who I was able to take out with a single discharge. Next up was her first Dragonair, who was an easy OHKO with Ice Shard. But then there was the demonic Kingdra. I tried to brute force with an Earthquake, but its Citrus Berry got some back. But then it used Hydro Pump, and I knew it was all over, and I would have to do hours and hours more grinding just to get back here. But Bunsu lived on red HP, and I was able to fire back with an Earthquake, outspeeding and KOing the Kingdra. Her last Pokemon was her final Dragonair, who, like the first, was a very easy OHKO with Ice Shard, allowing us to beat Claire and finally get the badge. Or at least I would have gotten the badge if Claire wasn't a massive baby and made me pass a test in the Dragon's Den to get the badge. When at last I got it, and all was good. Then I make it out to battle the Kimono girls, successfully beating them all, getting the clear bell for it. I make my way up Bell Tower and use the clear bell with all the Kimono girls at the top to summon Ho-Oh. So this is going to be really difficult to beat without fainting. It's only like 5 levels lower than us. Probably one of the strongest Pokemon we've fought this entire journey. This is going to be really, really tough. I don't know if we're going to be able to live with this one, honestly. Alright, I think we're going to use probably Earthquake first. Probably Earthquake first. You didn't think we were actually going to fight this, right? I have nothing else to use the Master Ball on. I'm obviously just going to get to the Ho-Oh. Literally just a free team member. I then nicknamed the Ho-Oh Freebird, as it was really just what popped into my head at the time, and I thought it sounded cool. I then picked up Freebird from the box, forming what would be our final team for the Elite Four. Next was Tojo Falls, where I was forced to teach Axel Waterfall in replace of Whirlpool. And after making it through the falls and the route after, it was time for the badge check into the Victory Road. However, strength is necessary to get through the Victory Road, and I didn't have it on one of my Pokemon. So I taught it to no feint, because now that I had another stronger fire type in Ho-Oh, I figured I could lose a fire type move to one Pokemon and have plenty on another. And after the pushing of many rocks later and some shenanigans with wild Pokemon, it was the time for the final rival battle of the run. He first sent out his Sneasel, which was toasted by no feint. Next was Feraligatr, who Faster shocked into oblivion. His Haunter was a piece of cake with Shadow Claw from no feint, and his Kadabra was a matter of Earthquake to take down. Lastly was the Magneton, who had the same demise as the Kadabra. Oh yeah, and there was a Golbat, but it was similarly easy, allowing us to win our last rival battle with only OHKO moves, which would allow a nice checkpoint before the Pokemon League. But we couldn't enter yet. Not until we did some more grinding. And so I grinded up my team until they were all at least level 50 or so, and decided that was enough, and decided to at least try the Elite Four and see how it went, not expecting much. And pretty soon was our first hurdle. It was Will. He first sent out his Xatu, who I was able to OHKO with Faster because of its flying typing. Next was Jinx, which one Sacred Fire obliterated. Slowbro was pretty easy as well because of its extra water typing. His Exeggutor was equally easy with Fire Blast from Ho-Oh absolutely destroying it. And lastly was his other Xatu, who had a similar fate to his first. 1 down with 4 to go. Our next obstacle was Koga, who first sent out his Ariados, who was burnt away crisp by no feint. His Fortress fell the same way, and all I had to do with his Muck was shake the ground a little bit. His Venomoth burnt to a crisp, and his Crobat was shocked from out of the skies. Second one down. Next up was Bruno, who I actually led with Kenya for, immediately taking out his Hitmontop. His Hitmonchan was similarly easy, and for his Onix I switched into Axel, and washed it away with Surf. Hitmonlee fell to a Drill Peck, and lastly was his Machamp. I used Pluck on Freebird, which nearly KO'd it, but it healed it back. When all of a sudden I used another Pluck, and he didn't heal, and I won. Now our next and final member of the Elite Four was Karen. Umbreon was first, who I used Earthquake on, taking it just under half health, and another one KO'd it. Houndoom was next, and Surf did a good chunk of damage before she switched into Vileplume, to which I sent in no feint and burnt it to a crisp. Her Gengar was a matter of just 2 Shadow Claws, and that same old Houndoom was immediately washed away. Lastly was her Murkrow, who Faster zapped with ease. Now just the champion was left in our way. But before doing the Dragon Champion, I wanted to teach Axel Blizzard to deal with Lance's dragons. And once I felt I had all my preparations done, I went in. His Gyarados was first, who he easily KO'd with Discharge. Next was his Charizard, who he traded hits with until Axel clutched and Charizard fell. Next was his Dragonite, who Ice Shard took care of. Then there was his second Dragonite, who I sent in Axel for. By the way, yes, I did heal Axel with a full restore because I couldn't beat it without doing so. I then set up Hail, which makes Blizzard 100% accurate, which allows me to do big damage to Dragonite with a 100% accurate move. I then switched out of Axel for Bunsu to finish it with Ice Shard. Then there was the third Dragonite, who I actually outsped and KO'd with Ice Shard pretty easily. Lastly was the Aerodactyl, who I sent out Axel for, and yes, I did heal again, by the way. And after 2 Surfs was an easy KO with Axel. And that is how I beat Pokemon Heart Gold without ever fainting, in the most extreme form of Nuzlocke ever. And mostly without potions, except for the 2 against the champion. And if you do enjoy these videos, you will also probably like my Twitch, where this was all streamed completely live, so check me out over there. But that's all for me this time, so thanks for watching, and peace.